On this episode of Urban U, we celebrate Earth Day with one of our students doing science work on a whale watching boat right outside Brooklyn. We share more stories from CUNY's past by going back to the 1940s when schools faced investigations on suspected communist sympathies. We talk about the student activism of 1969 and much more, including CUNY news, coffee talk, and music. Welcome to Urban U.
When most people think of blacklists and the Red Scare, they think back to the 1950s when our government was afraid that communism was infiltrating our thoughts and our institutions. But those same fears were threatening academic and personal freedoms across the country almost a decade earlier, including right here at City College.
In 1940, the state legislature in Albany formed the Rap-Kuder Committee. It was supposed to investigate budgetary problems within the city university and the school system, but really its main purpose was to investigate, quote, subversion in the city colleges and the public schools of New York. They didn't define what subversive meant, but it became increasingly obvious that they were out to find communists within the school system and in the universities. The first action of the Rap-Kuder Committee was to subpoena the membership lists of both the College Teachers Union and the New York Teachers Union.
Members of the teachers' unions had fought hard against low pay, lack of school funding, and for their belief in academic freedom. Many of these union members came from an Eastern European Jewish background with strong ties to socialism and labor activism. This led them to also be attracted to the American Communist Party, which they felt supported these same goals. But with the rise of anti-communism, name-calling and naming names became the order of the day.
Several people have called the Rap-Kuder Committee the dress rehearsal for McCarthyism. It's because the Rap-Kuder Committee first called the likely suspects into private hearings. They interrogated them behind closed doors. They were searching for friendly witnesses. And when they found them, then they had open public hearings where they were people that were accused of communists were denounced by the friendly witnesses. At City College, the acting president, Wright, submitted the names of 10 faculty members that he thought would be friendly witnesses. William Canning was probably the most important friendly witness at City College. He was very young. He had been in the Communist Party for a while, and he named over 57 members.
A lot of the people testifying in these hearings, their rights were violated.
They were not allowed to bring lawyers. They didn't know the charges against them. They never got copies of the reports from the testimony. And they were interrogated mercilessly. They had really no idea what to do. If they said they were members of the Communist Party, they could possibly lose their jobs. And if they lied and said they weren't members of the Communist Party, they were perjuring themselves under oath. Students were called before the committee. Not only were they asked about their political activities on campus, but they were asked to inform on their faculty and what their faculty had said in class. And in addition, they were not allowed to bring their parents to the hearings, and the Rap-Kuder members threatened them that if they didn't cooperate, their careers and their futures would be ruined.
What effect did these hearings have on the city colleges?
There were over 50 faculty at City College that lost their jobs. This was the largest political purge in the country at that time.
What happened to those people after that?
It has been said that City College lost among its best faculty in that group of people that were fired, and most of them never worked in academia again. It is important to note that there was never, ever any evidence that any faculty ever used their positions as faculty in the classroom to indoctrinate the students.
Was this a witch hunt?
There are several academics from that period that refer to it as a reign of terror. It had a chilling effect within the city colleges, and faculty became afraid of what to teach in the class, of what they said of informal conversations outside of the class with students or other faculty. They became extremely frightened, and I was told they remained frightened the rest of their lives. So it didn't just impact on the teachers that were fired, it had a devastating impact on the people that weren't fired.
The 50s brought McCarthyism and the Red Scare. Many years later, after the country had re-examined the damage done during that time, the Board of Trustees came to respond to what happened to the Rap Couder victims.
In 1982, the City University Board of Trustees unanimously passed a resolution apologizing to the victims of the Rap Couder who had lost their jobs, been dismissed, or forced to resign because of the Rap Couder accusation of alleged political affiliations. And the resolution also said that the university would provide a safe place for the expression of freedom of speech and freedom of association.
I'm Scott Kirby for Urban U.
I mean, a lot of people were thinking this wasn't going to happen. I'm sure a lot of Ukrainians were also thinking this wasn't going to happen. And I've been following it, and, you know, I felt a certain kind of anxiety for the past few weeks. And it was, you know, my friends noticed it, my family noticed it, and so on. And they were like, no, you know, it's going to be okay. Like, Putin's not, you know, he's like a strategist. He wouldn't do such a thing, whatever. And, you know, I just got a news update. I called my parents like maybe a half hour after like the Kiev bombs went off. I called them. I'm like, are you following what's going on? They're like, no, we're watching a movie. I'm like, they're bombing Kiev. And they were like, what? Again, like, given that I'm basically living on Instagram right now and everything is a meme, it's like, how can I remain productive when like the world is ending? Or it's like, people can win, everyone should win an Oscar for appearing normal when the world's falling apart. Yeah, we're all trying here. The whole situation is screwed. So yeah, just remember to take care of yourself, be there for people. If someone wants to, you know, open up or just talk or whatever, listen. You know, now is the time for empathy. Now is the time for solidarity, coming together and actually being there for each other. Because unfortunately, we don't really know what's going to happen in the next few months. If you know Ukrainian, obviously, like, support them. They're stressed out right now. And also don't blame Russian students. That is also, you should not do that. You know, a lot of Russians in Putin's Russia, they don't really support the regime. They may not have a choice. And to point fingers at Russian students and go, oh, you know, how you like, all of you are like, you know, twisted or whatever, that's also wrong. You know, even though like Russia is invading Ukraine, it's not the civilians, or, you know, they're not to blame at all.
It's May 8th, 1969, and City College is on fire. Students are fighting with each other, and the police are occupying the campus. How did we get here? Well, to understand 1969, you kind of have to go all the way back to 1847. What would become City College began as the Free Academy in 1847, and its stated mission was to open its doors to all. But as you might imagine, open to all meant something very different then, when, for instance, women weren't even allowed. It's been a constantly evolving directive. And perhaps no single event transformed the identity of what open to all meant more than the fight for open admissions. So let's skip forward again to the 1960s, before CUNY was on fire. CUNY had always had a reputation for left-wing activism, and amid the social changes of the decade, from the civil rights movement to the Vietnam War, the atmosphere was ripe for change, particularly with regards to minority representation in the student body. You see, despite some initiatives by the Board of Higher Education in the mid-60s to address disparity, the results were underwhelming. By 1969, CUNY's most prominent school, City College, was only 9% non-white, in the heart of Harlem at that. For context, 40% of New York City high school students were Black or Puerto Rican. In March 1969, After new budget cuts and the city college president resigning in protest, things came to a head. On April 21st, almost 1,000 Black and Puerto Rican students marched through campus and boycotted classes. They had made a set of demands in February for more equitable education opportunities for minority students, and now those unmet demands had become action. Over the next weeks, classes were halted as students took over much of the campus. Other student groups, in solidarity with the Black and Puerto Rican activists, joined in. 17 buildings were occupied, racial fights broke out, and the police were called in. By May 8th, several fires were burning on campus. Now, strife wasn't isolated to just City College, or even CUNY. Similar struggles at the time across the city saw students stage sit-ins and rallies at Queensborough Community, Brooklyn, and Queens colleges. There was a sit-in at Bushwick High School. Fires were set at Erasmus High in Brooklyn and DeWitt Clinton in the Bronx. Suffice to say, tensions were high at the time. Finally, on May 9th, the Board of Higher Education announced they would meet the students' demands, and things began to calm down. It's important to note, open admissions was not explicitly part of the students' demands, just proportional representation, not necessarily scrap admission standards. But, as the Deputy Chancellor at the time recalled, the only question in my mind was, how can we save City College? And the only answer was, hell, let everybody in. By 1970, CUNY had adopted an open admissions policy. The transformation was massive. From 1969 to 1972, Black student enrollment increased more than 2.5 times, and Puerto Rican almost 3 times. Matriculation increased across the board for that matter, with white student enrollment rising 18% too. The legacy of the protests cannot be understated. CUNY has changed demographics and policies many times since those 1970s figures, still wrestling with the promise of 1847, of how best to embody open the doors for all. But for all the ebbs and flows since, the protests of 1969 opened up access to education for quite literally millions of New Yorkers, a lasting legacy we're still feeling over 50 years later. For the record, I'm Ari Goldberg.
So excited to be visiting the CUNY School of Professional Studies. It was a chance to thank them for the great work they did during the pandemic. The SPS team was our lead in making sure that our faculty had the expertise in transitioning to teaching online. I'm also here because we're announcing the CUNY Online initiative. We're using stimulus funding to be able to really increase our presence in online programs. And I'm delighted that it'll be SPS helping all our campuses to design cutting-edge, quality, excellent programs. A great visit, and I look forward to working with the SPS team in the years ahead, and particularly the CUNY Online initiative.
Still up on Urban U, a recent City Tech grad with a thriving restaurant and love for coffee sends his culinary magic on the road. Punk rock with a Queens College alumna and words of wisdom from a Grammy-nominated Brooklyn College grad. Stay tuned.
Alex Mildener's journey to becoming a grad student at Hunter started on a boat.
I would go week after week, pretty much every Friday or Saturday, and eventually one of the naturalists, Meryl Kafka, asked me to be a volunteer. And I've been working with Gotham Whale for over a decade now. It's incredible.
And little did Alex know he'd find the next steps in his career aboard Gotham Whale.
Meryl Kafka told me about Dr. Diana Reese, and I was familiar with her work in terms of her groundbreaking study on mirror self-recognition in the bottlenose dolphin, and I just looked into Hunter.
And while visitors on board Gotham Whale were on a whale-watching journey for the day, for Alex, whale-watching has been a lifelong calling.
This is something that I've always been passionate about. My mom said since I was 11 months, ever since I saw bottlenose dolphins and beluga whales at the New York Aquarium, I just knew that this was something I had to do.
Alex is in his second year of studies, but still enjoys helping with research aboard Gotham Whale and sharing his knowledge with visitors, and it didn't take long before we encountered our first sighting, a 16-foot humpback whale waving hello, and Alex was ready to be our guide.
If we're lucky, we can see them breach when they jump out of the water, or pectoral fin slapping, where they slam their massive flippers against the surface.
But Gotham Whale naturalist Ceilia Ackerman explains that when it comes to doing research, whale tails, called flukes, are better than the pectoral fins, which are on the side of the whale.
We're actually looking to try to identify the individual whales that we see by photographing the underside of the fluke image if we can, that pattern there that's distinctive, like a fingerprint for each whale.
Boat Captain Tom Palladino knows why Gotham Whale voyages see whales 95% of the time. The water is the cleanest it's been since the Civil War, and that means there's plenty of food to feed the whales.
There's a lot more menhaden and bunkers than there ever was before, and they feed on them.
Up to a pound in weight and 15 inches long, they can be seen in schools of thousands off the south shore of Long Island.
So menhaden, also known as bunker, are a bait fish. And the quota on the amount of menhaden that have been taken out, the quota has been greatly reduced, so there's more food in the area.
What might surprise you most about whale watching is that you don't have to go too far to find them, about a 20 to 30-minute boat ride, and you're ready to watch. After departing from Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, we saw the humpbacks just off the coast of the Atlantic Highlands of New Jersey, and while Alex got his start helping Gotham Whale study humpbacks, as he dives deeper into his graduate studies, he plans to focus on whales of a different tale.
I'm studying cetacean cognition. As of now, I'm studying beluga whale responses to a mirror. I'm still in the early stages right now, and I can't believe this is a reality right now. Sometimes I have to pinch myself because I can't believe I'm actually doing this.
I'm Andrew Falzon for Urban U.
Being in person makes it easier just to have everything at your fingertips. You could have clay at home, but you don't really have much else, plus the teacher's help.
I think one of the most beautiful parts about the ceramics department is the community and being able to connect with everybody and share our experience as artists together.
I think the students really miss it a lot, particularly that they are art students. They like to use their hand. Working in front of the screen or using Zoom is really painful for them.
Wow, it looks beautiful, Natalia.
Patisserie Florentine has now been open 8 years in Englewood, New Jersey.
Look at this. I want to show you that.
The restaurant is a place that fuses Tomer's passion for food and coffee. But when a customer wondered if there was a way to expand the coffee and pastries beyond the restaurant setting,
I was sitting with his laptop and a cappuccino, actually a cortado, and the almond croissant. And he asked me, like, can we bring this quality to people, not necessarily in a coffee shop, where it's more convenient? And I started talking to him, and that was 10 months ago, and now we are already with the first 4 wheels on the road.
And for this alumnus of City Tech, the Zing the Day coffee truck was born.
It aims to bring accessibility and convenience and quality for customers that are in the suburbs. We're not as privileged in New York City, for example, or any big city, to get a great cup of coffee.
But it's not just any coffee. When the pandemic shut down his restaurants, Tomer dove deep into coffee research.
And I just started calling different coffee vendors and roasters, and I tried probably about 30 different coffees. I just wanted to take coffee to the next level.
As well as running 3 restaurants and his new venture, Tomer teaches at Bergen Community College, where he helped create the first coffee accreditation course in the country, and where he dove into deeper studies of coffee culture.
We learn about farming a little bit, how we source it, how we roast it, how we introduce latte art. also brewing systems, basically everything that you see from the beautiful side of coffee. It's really interesting to teach people without much experience. So I came up with this silly name of positioning the steamer in the right way. Usually we say, oh, a little bit like this, a little bit like this. So I said, okay, we're gonna coin a new term. It's gonna be called kiss the milk. It's when the tip of the steamer just touches the surface of the milk.
And so his love of coffee fed back into the restaurant, and now a coffee truck. There are now 2 on the road in northern New Jersey, where he spreads the gospel of good coffee.
It's about, for me, continuing to be involved in the community, have the common ground of food and coffee involved in any single thing that I do in my life as far as a career, because that's my passion, whether it's in education, the restaurant industry, startup.
Tomer hopes one day to see the little orange trucks across the nation, but for now, look for them in New Jersey. For Urban U, I'm Craig Thompson.
Hi, my name is Tom Nazziola. I'm a composer. I'm also a graduate of Brooklyn College. I did my master's degree in composition. I had a wonderful experience with the teachers there, including Tanya Leon, who was my composition teacher, and Arnie Lang in the percussion department. The teachers weren't only great at helping with your craft, but very supportive beyond Brooklyn College. And that's something I really appreciated about the school. I had great experiences in having my music performed there and met some wonderful people that I continue to correspond with. And for students who are there now, stay with what you're doing, be consistent, be persistent, and as in my case, things will eventually go the way you hope they will, but you have to stay in the game in order to do that.
Meet Queens College alum Annette Santiago and her husband Brian Lugo, aka Roseblood and Thorn Black. Just your typical circus acrobats / metal-influenced horror punk musicians.
We are performing artists and circus acrobats, and we also are in a band called Cut Like This. You think that you were special and oh so perfect. The audience for horror punk is pretty much anybody that loves horror movies, people that like a dark aesthetic, very spooky, very cathartic, a little bit angry, a little bit edgy. Cut Like This is a little bit different than a lot of the other bands in horror punk or even the goth scene in general, in that we are all people of color, and that's not something that you see as often as I would like to see.
Brian met Annette when he joined her band. They were intrigued by an outdoor circus trapeze school when they were walking by Chelsea Piers.
So we were like, oh, that looks cool. I was like, you want to do that with me? And he's like, yeah, I'd do that with you. And then we just found a circus school here in New York City, even though we were starting at an older age than most people start doing acrobatics. And because, we were just really determined, we ended up becoming real professional circus acrobats. Like, we lived off of it for many years. We performed stilt walking in all kinds of crazy situations and with a really stunning variety of clients. Macy's Parade, at the Museum of Natural History. We've performed stilt walking at Electric Zoo for 4 years in a row at Randall's Island Park in New York, the big electronic music festival.
How do you keep your chops up during the pandemic when you can't perform?
We are focused mainly on our stretching and flexibility. We've kind of shifted our focus on our music and our other artistic outlets that are easier for us to pull off right now, with things being the way that they are.
It's called The Boogeyman. That's our new single, and we also have a remix.
A deliciously evil lullaby available on Bandcamp.
This album and these songs are also an exploration of the monsters inside of us. Like, which one is scarier, the one on the TV screen or the one inside of your heart, inside of your mind, the one that's telling you that you're worthless or that, that you're not good enough, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's a scarier monster. Our website is cutlikethismusic.com. So we're also on YouTube. In addition to our music videos, we have a horror and anime review show called The Cutting Room Floor, and there are 30 episodes.
And their multimedia goal?
Create the art that I want to create and hopefully share it with people that understand it too.
Barry Mitchell, Urban U.
We leave you now with the music from versatile composer Tom Nazziola, wishing him best of luck at the upcoming Grammy Awards in May. Until next time, thanks for watching these stories from the nation's largest urban university, the City University of New York.